Hey everyone, Roy True from over at GoldenWest Management. I'm here to discuss one of the hottest topics in the business right now, ADUs. And I have the man himself, Henish, here with Cal Home Co. He's going to let us know a little bit more about what an ADU is. Henish, why don't you take it away and let us know.
Cool, thanks for having us. And yeah, ADUs are a super hot topic. It stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit. That's the legal term for properties that exist typically behind your property or above your garage. It's an extra unit, so it can be called a casita, a coach house, a granny flat, are the most common terms for it. They're all basic versions of ADUs.
And just so you know, it's not exactly what that term used to mean with just changing a unit on top of your garage into the granny flat. That goes a little bit further than that, right? It's not just one unit anymore.
There's so many different options, and depending on your property, location, type, and what you want personally, you could convert your garage, you could build something in your backyard, you could put it as part of your house, you could even convert an existing bedroom, put an outside door on it, and make that an ADU. So there's so many different ways to chop this thing up that it's worth having a conversation to figure out what would be best for you, your property, and your goals.
Awesome. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about why it's such a hot topic in San Diego right now?
Well, we've got a huge housing crunch. Right. And so the lack of inventory for housing, both for purchase and for rent, has caused the legislators up in Sacramento to say, let's pass some laws to make it easier to build extra units. So in 2017, it started a slew of new bills that have passed that make it easier and less onerous and less expensive to get these things permitted and built and approved so we can house more Californians.
That's awesome. And whenever I hear another unit as a property manager, I'm always thinking cash flow.
Absolutely right, absolutely.
So what's a benefit for our investors out there?
Well, the big thing is that buying a property is expensive partially because the land is expensive.
Right.
But if you already own the property, you already own the land, and so now adding an extra unit is a bargain, right? So anywhere in California, a cheap property trades at $500 a foot, right? But that's because at least part of that cost is the land acquisition, right, and the part of it is the improvements. So if you own the land already and you can add an extra unit at much less than the land value, right, or purchasing a new property of that same type, that's your big benefit, right? Your return on investment is much higher because you spent less money to get that extra unit, even though you spent more money to get the original unit.
Right, right. And that's awesome. How long does something like this take? What's the timeline?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you're not coastal, I would estimate a year from start to finish. From when, Roy, you call me up and say, hey, I want to build one of these on my property. Okay, great, let's get the design process done. That takes 1 to 2 months. Let's get the permits done. That by state code, it has to be done within 2 months. So the design process alone could take anywhere from 1 to 4 months on average. And then to build, we always average 6 to 8 months. We try to overestimate and be comfortably within those time frames. So if you say go now, we say next year by December, or next year in 12 months from now, you'll have it done.
That's awesome. So you do everything from helping get the planning, the permit, the architectural design, literally every step of the way for clients.
Correct, yeah, so we work as a design build firm, so what we do is meet with clients, do a site visit, figure out what they want, figure out their budgets, make sure it's in line with what we expect it to cost based on our experience, and then we have them sign a design contract with us and say, let's get these plans built, knowing your budget is X, making sure that we design it to those plans. And so then at that point, we get those designs done, we get the plans into the city to approve, and if for some reason you don't like us, you could bid those plans out to other contractors. You're not locked into us. So that hasn't happened, but it gives you that opportunity that you're not committed to spending X hundreds of thousands of dollars with us. You can spend 5 or 10,000, get the plans, and then bid it out yourself, or we can execute the full plans start to finish.
That's awesome. One-stop shop and customer satisfaction. If you're not happy, hey, you know,
no problem.
We can try somebody else out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can definitely appreciate that. One thing I would also bring up to investors too is renting one unit when you can rent two splits your risk. So if you have 2 units available on one piece of land, that just makes it a better investment altogether.
Yep.
So what's the challenge? We always hear this from our investors. What's the challenge for splitting out like utilities, for example? So if you had one dwelling unit in the front and you want to build your ADU in the back, whether it's a single or a duplex, and you have the land that allows, is there a process to get that done when it comes to splitting?
Yeah, we don't have different meters coming in from the city. We don't have separate main meters coming in, but what we do is often do sub-meters or smart meters.
Right.
So we can kind of calculate how much usage was for that extra unit, and so that landlords could charge the appropriate rent for it. And it really varies, because half of the clients that use us to build these are building it for family,
right,
and they're not charging rent.
Right.
And then the other half are building it for rent, and then those are the ones that do want the smart meters and the sub meters,
right,
so you can keep track of how much electricity or water is being used.
And we can get that set up for an investor too on our side. We work with a lot of multi-unit buildings which just didn't have separately metered, so you could think traditionally like a townhome community where water, sewer, trash is covered. What Henish is talking about is the California sub-meter type companies can go in and read meters, and we can divvy up that bill,
yep,
and we can send that back to the tenant, so that helps save the cost on your expenses.
Correct, yeah, absolutely, because that way if someone's doing 10 loads of laundry a day, you know who to bill.
All right, so the biggest question, how much does all this cost?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it really varies, and economy of scale matters. So small units cost more on a price per square foot, and large units cost less. So if you're building a lot, we'll be closer to the 200 to 250 range.
Okay.
If you're building a little bit, it'll be closer to the 300 to 350 range.
So it's
per foot, price per square foot.
I mean, it's right up there with, I mean, like you said, you don't have to invest in the land. You've got that parcel already. You split your cost. It's a win-win for any investor.
I have never done the analysis where it didn't make sense.
Right.
And because anytime I break it down, and I'm not an expert at cap rates, but I understand enough to understand that almost every time I break it down, it's always a 12 cap or better.
It's amazing. Yeah, you
it's
just don't hear that.
It's always a 12 cap or better.
You heard that, investors, 12 caps. So one of the biggest things when you're doing this process is choosing your contractor. Who to work with, who's going to help me through this, who's going to guide me to the light to win. What's the best way, what would you say, how do you recommend choosing a contractor?
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I've heard this years ago, and it's a lot of times people meet someone, they go based on their gut, and I heard that gut stands for gave up thinking. So what you can do is do a little due diligence, right? You can look them up online, you can see their website, you can check out their reviews, but additionally meet with the person and then ask for references, ask for testimonials, ask to see a job site, right? Mm-hmm. If you work with us, we can take you to 3 to 5 job sites right now in varying states of completion, and saying, how does this look, right? Meet with the clients and talk to them and say, hey, how are they doing on their time frames? Mm-hmm. How are they doing on their budget? What do you like about them? What do you not like about them? Mm-hmm. How's their communication? Are they screwing you on change orders and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So just asking those kind of questions and finding that out. And I do a whole different series on this, and on my website we have a blog that says how to choose a contractor. So I actually outline it, so you can kind of print that out, meet with contractors and choose, because we don't cover the whole state. So if you're in Orange County or Riverside or LA, you might want to use that article to try to find someone. But in San Diego, you can use that same thing to vet us out as well and see if we check all the boxes for a good contractor to work with.
That's awesome. And Henish, I think that everything that we're talking ADU is focused on our main clients, which are second property owners, investors. For yourself, you even would focus on a ground up build, I'm sure. Something that from the beginning, if even a new build home, but ADUs are just the hottest topic right now, mainly because of zoning and regulation. We're able to get it through. Is there any more you could speak to on just walking somebody through a timetable for the process?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's typically within 4 months. If you're in coastal, you have to go through coastal commission and get some discretionary approvals and stuff like that. But besides coastal, it's 4 months to approve. So you can get plans done in 2 months. You can get the permits approved in 2 months, and then we're demoing and breaking ground and grading and pouring foundations right away.
Wow, that's awesome.
It happens pretty quickly. And yeah, if you buy, single family zone, R1 zones can accommodate at least 3 units, if not more.
That's
and
amazing.
so there's additional bonuses that come out. And like I said, this is a moving target because bills keep passing to allow for more units. Mm-hmm. Where if you deed restrict a unit to affordable income renters, then you can have bonus units as well.
Okay.
So I've heard upwards of 5 or 6 units on a single family property.
That's amazing.
if you deed restrict one of them to affordable. Additionally, the junior ADUs are basically just an extra room that has its own bathroom and access to potentially a kitchen. Right, so you can rent that out separately too, like to a grad student or something like that. So
it's true.
Lots of good opportunities. It's you can't pass up on it. It's a good opportunity to grab onto these.
I'm sold. I mean, I think it's a fantastic vertical. It's great. It's great for our investors. And Henish, how does our team find you? Where do they go to get this?
Yeah, you can always go to my website at calhomeco.com. Otherwise, I'm easy to get a hold of by phone as well. You want me to drop my phone number?
Yeah.
858-380-8765. And So our website's pretty robust. I have a real estate company too, so you'll see kind of the real estate and construction side.
Awesome.
And then on the construction, you can see past projects, our blogs, you can meet our team, see some videos that we've done. And we're easy to find. We're right here in Claremont, and so we cover all of San Diego.
Well, hopefully we can get out to one of those sites and check one out live and get some shots for you. But we'll also have this up on our website, GoldenWestManagement.com. Follow us on our Instagram at GWM.